Hey guys, Meteorologist Chris Tomer here on this Monday. We've got a lot to talk about. We've got our first real storm system of the season. It's going to roll out of Wyoming and then down into Colorado, and we're going to see snow accumulation. I posted this on my X account yesterday, talking about Long's Peak in Colorado, which is this peak right here near Rocky Mountain National Park. And it still looks to me like 6 to 12 inches of snow accumulation is entirely possible, not just on Long's, but those higher peaks of like the Indian Peaks, Rocky Mountain National, all the way up towards Cameron Pass. Some of those really high peaks up in those spots. So it's happening. Let me show you where it's at right now. This is Jackson Hole ski area from the very top, looking over towards the Cody Bowl area. And notice it is socked in, and there's a little bit of snow here, new snow, kind of on the ground up there around Rendezvous and the lift up there. Now, if we could see through this fog, we probably would see some snow over there on Cody Peak in the distance. But that's the cold front. That's the storm system that's going to be moving south. Here's radar across the west, and you can see where the action is. It's over here. It's in Montana. It's in Wyoming, and a little bit there in northern Utah, and then now it's kind of rolling towards Colorado. So let's zoom in on this. All right, here's the other radar out of Wyoming. Notice you do have some snow there, the Wind Rivers, the Bighorns. You've got snow up here around Granite Peak. A little bit of precip still coming out of Idaho, heading towards the Teton Range here. And then you've got a little bit of precip, mainly rain, but as it rolls over the top of the high winters, you might see some light snow accumulation. So all of this associated with a cold front that's going to be moving south and sliding into Colorado this afternoon, tonight, and especially on Tuesday. I think during the day, like late Monday and throughout the day on Tuesday, that's probably going to be our prime time for snow generation across Colorado. Here's what we're seeing in Colorado right now. And you know what? It's just mainly some rain and thunderstorms, some very small popcorn type thunderstorms popping up in the warmer part of this storm system. But eventually we're going to drop that rain snow line down on Monday night, well, tonight into Tuesday, to potentially 9,500 feet in some cases. So we're going to get some snow, 95 to maybe 10,000 feet. So it's coming. It's just it's going to take its time. All right, let me show you my bullet points here. Oh, and by the way, fall officially starts today at 12:19 p.m. Mountain Time. So this is all coming together on the first day of fall. And again, the story is all about this fast-moving front. This is the first real storm system where we're talking about true snow accumulation, a little more widespread and a little lower elevation, but certainly several inches of snow accumulation. And just as an example, I'm using Long's Peak, the 14er in Colorado, 6 to 12 inches of snow accumulation, entirely possible. And that would certainly close out the season for 95% of the climbers in Colorado. And the snow chances on the highest peaks, looking at the timeline here, these are the best odds. So, of course, you've got Colorado today, tomorrow, and then some additional chances down the road. Utah today, mainly up in the high Uintas. Wyoming, Wind Rivers, and then down into the Laramie Range. Tonight, Montana. Today, that's happening right now. And then a couple of additional chances. In BC, your next chance for the highest peaks, 9, 28, 29, and then all the way into the 2nd of October. It looks like kind of an extended period there with a few different chances of snow in the forecast over the highest peaks. Let me show you the satellite. So this is water vapor across the west, and your dry airs and the oranges and the reds, which is all of this, and then your moistures and the whites and the blues, that's where the action is. And so you've got your cold front here with our storm system. That's the same one that's going to be knifing to the south through Colorado. We're going to have mountain snow, and then it's going to be rain at lower elevations. Another area of low pressure up here, sliding mainly to the north with that jet stream. So that's a player down the road, but mainly for a lot of British Columbia. Okay, let me show you how this is going to play out. Here's the forecast radar. We did this yesterday. But this is the forecast radar, and I'm going to start this early this morning. So we're starting it early, Monday, September 22nd today. And what you see on this is a forecast for what the radar should look like. at a forecast time into the future. So what you're looking at right here are returns, radar returns, which correspond to these levels over here. So where you see the greens, the yellows, the oranges, and the reds, that's higher on the scale. That would be more intense precipitation. And of course, if it's cold enough and you're at a high enough elevation right now, you're going to have snow. Okay, let me move this ahead into the future. Here we are, lunchtime today. Here we are, dinner time today. So right around, let's say 4 or 5 p.m., 6 p.m. Notice where all the precip is. Here's the cold front right here. Everything is racing down into Colorado, and there's an area of low pressure as well developing with this. And so what you've got are some intense areas of rain at lower elevations up here in Wyoming, but also snow at higher elevations. And notice we're starting to build the precip in, especially into the mountains, right on the Continental Divide and east. And there's going to be some snow to the west of the divide in Summit County, 10-mile range as well, just not as much. Okay, let's go ahead and move this ahead. Here we are. This is early on Tuesday morning. So there's an area of low pressure that's developing right here, and we're getting this wraparound effect. And so we're getting some upslope flow, and that pushes the precip and enhances it into the mountains. You get the rising of the air as a result. And look at all of this rain up and down the Front Range. Denver, Fort Collins, Boulder, all rain up and down I-25. And then when you get high enough up here on the Continental Divide, that's all going to be snow. And in fact, the snow level will be dropping to the course of this event to a lower elevation. Okay, let's move ahead. Here we are, lunchtime on Tuesday, September 23rd. Here we are, this is dinner time on Tuesday, September 23rd. Dinner time right here, probably 4, 5, 6 p.m. This is all rain along the Front Range of Colorado. But then this is snow right up on the Continental Divide and east. Again, we're looking at potentially several inches. I'll zoom in and show you the snow amounts in a second. And then thunderstorms out here in the plains. Okay, let's move ahead. Here we are early on Wednesday, September 24th. Now at this point, the area of low pressure is out here and it's moving away, and you just have a little bit of wraparound, a couple of rain showers, maybe a residual snow shower, but fast clearing up in the mountains of Colorado at that point. Lows moving away. And then you'll notice by the time we get to the midday into the afternoon, it's basically done in Colorado at that point. So that's the evolution of this storm system. Here's how it looks in the middle of the atmosphere, up at around 18,000 feet. These are atmospheric pressure anomalies, so we're looking for either areas of higher or lower than normal areas of pressure. So you can clearly see this. This is effective on Tuesday, the 23rd, so tomorrow. Here's our area of low pressure, dip in the jet stream, and eventually that will be moving away into Wednesday. A little residual area of tropical moisture, that does feed in a little bit of moisture to this area of low pressure. Okay, let's go to, this is Friday, the 26th. So we've got the same residual tropical low here, another one, and that's another area of low pressure, probably the same one that departed the Rockies. And then you've got a big drop in pressures up here in parts of BC, Alberta, and Canada. So that's your pattern on Friday, the 26th, into the week. This is Tuesday, the 30th of the month. Now, at this point, you got a little bit of a hurricane or some sort of tropical system out in the Atlantic. But look at this big drop in pressures, and this is an AI model, by the way. So this is AI, its interpretation of things on Tuesday, the 30th. Big drop in pressures here, area of low pressure, probably big dip in the jet. And that lends to credence to the idea that I think it's going to be more active into the month and first week of October, if this does come true here, that drop in pressure. Here's the time height forecast. Now this is for Loveland Ski. No, this is Bear Lake today. I went with Bear Lake because it's closer to Long's Peak, and it's really in that zone that I think is probably going to be one of the bullseyes for heaviest precip, and you can see it. I'm looking for the green, and we are full of green here, socked in with moisture. That's what it represents. Higher humidity levels. So you start over here, that's current time, and then you move into the future by going in this direction, moving to the left. So today in Colorado, pretty quiet, right? Kind of leading up to this event, even a little bit of dry air in place. But then the moisture really gets thick. By the time we go through the overnight hours tonight, afternoon, overnight, into tomorrow, the moisture is thick and it's pretty deep. And then it starts to let up by the evening hours on Tuesday. So it really starts to thicken up this afternoon tonight, and it stays deep. The moisture stays deep tomorrow, and then it starts to dry out by the time we get into the morning hours on Wednesday. But this could be significant snow above 9,500 to 10,000 feet in the mountains of Colorado. Here's the 10-day snow forecast, and we'll zoom in on this in a second. But there's all your snow in Colorado. There's your snow mainly today, tonight in Wyoming, and again, a little bit there for the high Uintas. And all of this snow up here in BC, Alberta, that mainly falls down the road later in September into early October. Okay, let me zoom in here. All right, this is the snow forecast, Wyoming, parts of Utah, and also Colorado. So potentially up to maybe 6 inches in the Wind Rivers over the very highest peaks. It's more of a kind of a 2 to 6 inch range there. A little bit to the north there, into the Bighorns and beyond. A touch over the Tetons, but this really isn't showing more than an inch there. Mainly 1 to 3 over the high Uintas. 3 might be extreme. And then you see where the big numbers are, where you have the bright colors. Where you see these pinks, that represents over 6 inches of snow accumulation. So let's take a closer look at that. Let me zoom into that map of Colorado. Okay, so this area where you see these pinks, again, that's 6+ inches. In fact, over the top of a lot of the 13ers and 14ers there, so you've got longs, which really takes the cake. That's a 6 to 12 inch bullseye over that area. Now there's less, so the Continental Divide, let's just say, runs somewhere right in here. So there's less as you go west of it, but you could still pick up 1 to 4 inches on the west side, the 10-mile range, the Mosquito. Those would probably be the primary areas. Maybe up here, Mount Zirkle Wilderness. Could see some of that as well. But we're really talking about snow that's right up on the Continental Divide and then down into the east. So down through the Indian Peaks and Cameron Pass area. And notice down here across Denver in the Front Range, there's nothing. It's all rain. This is not cold enough for a big event in those areas. So that's a zoomed in version, and you can really see how it favors those areas of the Continental Divide and east. And again, 6 to 12 inches is really what I'm thinking in those areas, the highest peaks. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in here. Always appreciate it. This should be an exciting event to see how this plays out. I might do another update later today into the afternoon, evening. All right, guys, thanks, and have a great day today.